The year 2008 will always be remembered in the financial history, and we all know why. It is because of the collapse of the US housing market. This was basically because of the subprime loans given to people who were not able to pay back the loans to the bank. Now, why are we discussing that today? We are hearing news from the past 2-3 days which are similar to this, but this is in the Chinese market, and you are hearing the name of this company called Evergrande. So in this video, we'll be discussing about Evergrande and the Chinese crisis. So hi guys, this is your friend Mohammed Shoaib. I am the founder and CEO of Money Spot Trading Partners. We are an educational platform for everybody who wants to learn about stock markets. Evergrande is the top second real estate developer in China. It is a very big company and it is a huge conglomerate. It is not only in the real estate business, but it is also in the automobile sector. It is in sports, it is constructing stadiums, etc. So this is a very huge company. So this company has borrowed huge loans from the banks and big investors. But recently the problem arose when this company was not showing any losses. And this was because there was no proper audit reports presented to the shareholders, but it kept on taking loans. And suddenly one day they came and said to the banks that, boss, we cannot pay back your loans. Now you might say this story is similar to the 2008 crisis, where the subprime loans were given to the people who were not able to pay back the loans. We have even heard of stories where loans were given to unemployed people who couldn't eventually pay back the loans. So the question is, why did the US banks actually give the loans? The US banks thought that the housing market will always go up, it will eventually grow. But what happened was the failure of paying back the loans burst the whole housing market bubble in the US. So since this news of Evergrande has been out from Monday, it has impacted its share price and it has gone through 11-year low. So this Chinese company Evergrande has a $300 billion debt to banks and different investors. So now the big question arises, what is going to happen? And a lot of people are also saying, can this be the Lehman movement which had happened in the 2008, which had led to the global economic crisis? So we can see some corrections in the Indian stock markets already. If I have to tell you the shares of the metals, some of the metal stocks like Tata Steel, Jindal Steel, National Aluminium Company, NMDC, JST Steel, which took some major corrections. So what can happen here is there can be some sectoral rotation by the domestic institutional investors and the foreign institutional investors. So what is a sectoral rotation? What they think is, for example, if I am an FII or a DNI, I think that the metal sector is overvalued and I take the money from this sector and put it in some other potential sector. So this can be seen in the market for those people who are holding the metal stocks. What to do? So my suggestion would be to not to exit or sell these stocks as of now, because a major sellout and a correction has already happened, and we need to wait and see how the government of China is intervening in this situation. Like in the 2008 crisis, the US had created a bailout package for the banks and paid certain $1 billion there for the economic recovery. A similar thing can be seen that the Chinese government is coming forward and creating a bailout package for this company. Now another question arises that why should the Chinese government intervene in the Evergrande crisis, which is dealing into property and other businesses? Because it should not have a hit on the Chinese banks, because the loans were taken from the Chinese banks and the collapse of one bank may lead to the other, which can lead to an economic crisis. Another factor is leading to the political crisis, because Xi Jinping, who is the president of China, a lot of people will question him on his ability to make decisions and solve the crisis, because a similar crisis which had happened in 2008 and a roadmap is ready for that. What China has to do is just replicate the model and implement it in this scenario or in the Chinese context. So now we just have to wait and watch what the Chinese government does. And now coming to the Indian stock markets, I have already said you that some corrections have already done in the metal sector and some sectoral rotations might be done by the institutional investors. And we need to understand about stock markets that the stock markets always hates uncertainty. This was already felt in the stock market, in the Indian stock market, in the last from the last 2 or 3 days. But looking at the whole scenario of this, stock market has already faced a situation something like this in the 2008, and such kind of an correction I am not expecting that to happen, because this is a smaller financial impact in China and the Chinese government can easily resolve it. Even if you look at the example of COVID, in the COVID first wave in the Indian stock market, there was a huge correction, but in the second wave there was not much correction because the market was used to it. To summarize, I would say that the Indian stock markets would take some short-term corrections, but some pain will be there with this crisis. But hold on to your stocks, metal stocks as of now. That is in my opinion, but you calculate your risk accordingly. So we'll wait and see how the Chinese government handles this situation. Until then, we have to wait and watch. I hope this video was easy for all of you to understand. This is your friend Mohammed Shoaib. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.